Villains are important in MLP, and in some cases, they're the whole reason why we loved an episode or a finale. But there's one villain that stood out from the rest, and that was Starlight. Starlight was truly unique at the time, and when we saw her path to redemption from season 6 onward was something truly special. And yeah, I know that her path to redemption wasn't perfect, and a lot of you are gonna say that Starlight didn't deserve her redemption or that she is a Sunset Shimmer clone. And you know what? I respect your opinion, but today I would like to tell you what made Starlight so special. Different from other villains of MLP, there's not a lot we can say about Starlight's past, but what we do know is that Starlight was raised by his father in a place called Sire's Hollow, in where Starlight would meet Sunburst, which the two of them had an inseparable friendship, until he got his cutie mark. And from that day, everything changed for Starlight. The family of her friend recognized his talents and he was sent to Celestia's magic school, and in the process breaking Starlight's heart, because from that day she would never see her friend again. This caused Starlight to feel abandoned, betrayed, to the point that she believed that the cutie marks are just something that can take your friends away from you. And as we all know, this led Starlight to find a way to separate cutie marks from ponies. And that's how she built his own town, attracting insecure ponies and convincing them that her ideology of equality was the only way to make friendships. But eventually she would meet Twilight and her friends, who ended up exposing her lies to the ponies of the town and in the process defeating her. But Starlight escaped, and throughout season 5 we would see her spying on the main 6, and when she figured out that the friendship of the main 6 was connected, she would use a modified Star Soul time spell to go back in time and change their friendship, which, without knowing it, she would cause multiple timelines where different villains took and destroyed Equestria, but Twilight would convince her with the power of diplomacy, and we would see her grow throughout the show. Outside of her past, I think what makes Starlight an interesting character is his role in the series, not only as a villain, but as a character, because she was the first in a lot of aspects. She was the first villain in not being an ancient omnipotent god, the first in just being a common pony, the first in not requiring to use magic objects or big powers to be defeated or to make her understand, and the first villain to have more of a personal story to justify her actions, and more importantly, the first in not necessarily looking for control and power, instead a very distorted version of friendship and harmony. But even after all that, Starlight had the opportunity to start over, something that wasn't easy for her, not because she couldn't do it, but because she didn't feel sure about if she could do it or even if she wanted to do it. Since a part of her remained faithful to the idea that friendship and harmony as Twilight knew it wasn't the most effective way to make friends. And I think that's what makes Starlight so special and unique as a character, at least to me, because we see that Starlight has a more grounded perspective on what friendship really is, and compared to Twilight or Sunset, she always was open to the idea of friendship from the beginning, and it was this very thing that made her realize that friendships can bring good and also bad things. Because in any moment you can end up being forgotten, especially if it's a childhood friend. While Twilight had friends from the beginning, Starlight had to take more drastic and egotistical measures to have other ponies around her, because she was convinced that otherwise they would leave her again, and it's something that even Starlight is jealous about Twilight. Why? Well, since she had to suffer abandonment, something that Twilight didn't. And we can even say that Twilight was destined to have friends, even if initially she didn't want them. Starlight had to fight, deceive, and manipulate in order to have someone who is loyal and willing to be with her. Although in the end this effort was in vain, because practically it was an artificial friendship. And even when she was reformed, a small part of her still had a cruel image of friendship. Something that in some cases led to her to make not the best decisions, but in other cases a voice of reason resonated in Starlight's head, that not everything out there is rules and harmony, and that sometimes it's necessary to take somewhat of more immoral decisions to have a better outcome. The overall message of Starlight as a character is one that is hard to accept, and that is that friendships are not those unbreakable bonds that solve every problem that you have. And in most cases, it's just something that is temporary, and in a blink of an eye, it can all end, and that in some cases, like this one, it can lead people to bad paths of life, to the point that they can bring down other people with them. Starlight in the show had to fight to make friends, and she had more bad experiences than good ones, and in moments she only had herself to depend on. Starlight is a perfect example that Equestria is far from being that happy and colorful place that we see portrayed, and that even friendship, something that since the beginning of the series is established as this unstoppable force that can defeat any evil, isn't entirely positive, and that even this one can have negative consequences. Starlight demonstrates that a failed friendship can have catastrophic consequences in the future, but Starlight also shows us that perfect friendships are not those where everyone agrees on everything, and perfect friendships are those where the people who are there add more than company. Perfect friendships are those that let you be who you are, and despite misunderstandings or even mistakes that you have made, they'll always be there for you. And who knows, maybe you'll grow into a better person yourself in the end. But what do you guys think? What are your opinions on Starlight, and is there an MLP character that is special to you? Leave it down in the comments, and remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing for more videos like this and to join this amazing community that we have. But remember to take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video.